They say the trailer was too disturbing to run, that certain platforms flagged it before it even finished uploading, that test audiences walked out, not because the film was bad, but because it was too real. Whether that's true or brilliant marketing, one thing is certain. Faces of Death is already one of the most talked about horror films of 2026. And most people haven't even seen it. Why ETTO understand why this film landed the way it did. You have to go back. Way back. 1978. A low-budget pseudo-documentary called Faces of Death hit theaters and immediately became one of the most controversial pieces of cinema in American history. Marketed as real footage of actual human deaths, it was banned in dozens of countries and became a staple of underground video stores throughout the 80s and 90s. Most of it was staged. Some of it wasn't. And that ambiguity, that horrible, nauseating uncertainty, is exactly what made it so powerful. It didn't just disturb you. It made you question why you were watching it all. Now, nearly 50 years later, director Parker Finn takes that same existential dread and drags it into the age of content moderation, algorithmic doom, and viral shock culture. The result is something far more unsettling than anything the original dared to imagine. Enter Margot. Played with quiet, devastating precision by Barbie Ferreira, Margot is a professional content moderator. Her job, every single day, is to sit in front of a screen and watch the worst things human beings do to each other, and then decide what the rest of the internet is allowed to see. She has a quota. She has a supervisor. She has a boyfriend who doesn't fully understand why she sometimes stares at nothing for long minutes after dinner. And she has a threshold that, as the film slowly and brilliantly reveals, has been worn down to almost nothing. Then a new series of videos begins appearing in the moderation queue. They're different from the usual horror. They're staged with cinematic precision. Each one ends with the same username watermarked in the corner. And each one seems to be escalating, not just in violence, but in artistry. Someone out there isn't just killing. They're performing, and they want to be seen. Dacre Montgomery plays that someone, a character credited only as the curator. And if you thought Montgomery was unsettling in Stranger Things, nothing prepares you for what he does here. This isn't a screaming, scenery-chewing monster. The curator is calm, articulate, deeply aware of the camera. He speaks in a monologue recorded directly into his phone like a vlogger explaining his morning routine. Except the routine involves humans suffering choreographed for maximum engagement. Montgomery makes a chilling choice. He plays the curator as someone who genuinely believes he is an artist, someone who has studied the metrics of viral violence and concluded that the modern internet audience has an appetite that mainstream media refuses to satisfy. In his mind, he's not a killer. He's a content creator. He's just more honest about his content than everyone else. This is where Faces of Death 2026 becomes something genuinely fascinating and genuinely uncomfortable in a way that has nothing to do with gore. The film is about doom scrolling, about the way we passively consume violence and suffering as entertainment, as news, as background noise while we eat breakfast. It's about the platforms that profit from our worst impulses and the invisible workforce of human beings paid to absorb the content that the rest of us can't handle. Ferreira's Margot isn't just a character. She's a mirror. Every time she flinches at a video and then moves on to the next one, we recognize something in ourselves. Every time the curator's follower count ticks up, a running graphic displayed in the corner of certain scenes, it feels like an indictment aimed directly at the audience sitting in the theater. The film doesn't moralize. It doesn't lecture. It simply watches you watching it. And that, more than any single scene of violence, is what makes it horror. Let's talk about what works, because a lot works here. Ferreira is extraordinary. She carries the emotional weight of the entire film on her face. Exhaustion, dissociation, the specific flatness of someone who has had to switch off their empathy just to get through the workday. It's a performance that deserves serious awards attention, and it's the emotional anchor that stops the film from becoming an intellectual exercise. The film's dark humor is sharper than you might expect. There's a sequence involving a content moderation training seminar that is simultaneously hilarious and deeply bleak. The kind of satire that lands because it's clearly built on research into how these systems actually function. The cinematography by Ari Wegner treats the digital world with the same visual grammar as the real one, creating a sustained atmosphere where the line between screen and reality dissolves completely. And the social media satire is genuinely razor-edged. This film has more to say about the attention economy than most documentaries made specifically on that topic. But here's the honest truth. If you came to this film because the marketing made it sound like the most disturbing viewing experience of the decade, you will leave slightly disappointed. The film is tense. It is deeply unsettling in the way that good psychological horror is unsettling, but is not, by conventional horror standards, shocking. The actual violence is restrained, strategic, often implied rather than shown. For some viewers, that's the right call. The film is more interested in ideas than viscera. But for others, especially those who sought it out specifically because they heard it was banned or extreme or unwatchable, the marketing has written a check the film isn't trying to cash. There's also a third-act stretch where the film loses its nerve slightly, pulling back from its most provocative implications just when you want it to commit completely. It recovers, but the hesitation is noticeable. That's a question worth sitting with. Because in a film about the hunger for shocking content, the fact that audiences showed up expecting something banned and too real might be the sharpest piece of horror in the whole package. Drop your verdict in the comments. And if you want more deep dives on the films no one else is talking about, you know what to do.